Mkenya Daima is a peaceful campaign. And that sounds interesting for just to say campaign, because we know we talk about campaigns and we talk about political campaigns. But the background of Mkenya Daima stems from 2008. Before 2008 and the post-election violence, the private sector was not very involved in terms of governance issues in the country. But after the 2008, the realization of the loss of lives, loss of property, loss of businesses, just where the country was at that point, the private sector had to quickly come together and do something about it. And at that point, they started engaging the two principles. We had always engaged the principles, but from a business perspective. But at that point, we needed this country to get back on track. And we needed peace. And so the private sector, under the umbrella of KEPSA, started engaging both principles and then started engaging the Kofi Annan initiative. And what we know today as the National Accord of 2008 was actually developed with a lot of input from the private sector under the umbrella of KEPSA. Fast track that to almost 5 years now. In the private sector, in realizing that we are about to get into elections again, and what we went through in 2008, started having a discussion around, should we wait and see what happens, or do we become proactive and do something about it? And we felt that the strength we could bring to the whole process of ensuring peaceful elections is to inspire Kenyans towards peaceful elections. And we could do a campaign around that. But we also felt that instead of doing it as private sector alone, because of the strength that was there by working with the civil society and the private sector around in 2008, that we bring them on board. And that's how Mkenya Daima was born. Once you own something, then you protect it than when you don't own it. When you say this is mine, you care for it, whether it's your family, your clan, your property. And so instead of saying this is our Kenya, let's bring it down to my Kenya. And so the campaign is actually My Kenya. But we use the slogan Mkenya Daima because that resonates with a lot of us in the country. And the idea is no matter what happens to this country, you'll always be a Kenyan. Whether you stay here or you leave this country, you'll always be a Kenyan. So the best thing is to protect the country from getting into chaos. And so I'm Mkenya Daima. You know, I'm a forever Kenyan, so I need this country, yeah, for my future, for my today, for my future, for my children, for the next generations. When you look at the steering team, it has representation from business, which is under Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Then we have the civil society representation under the NGO Council. Then we do have the faith-based organizations represented, where we have a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu sitting in the steering team. Then we also have Vision 2030, because we are all aspiring to a vision as a country. Then we also have media represented by the anchors and also by the Media Owners Association. Then we also have the NCIC, which is looking out to ensure that anyone who is trying to deny Kenyans peaceful elections is not allowed to do that. Then secondly, Mkenya Daima does not seek to do everything around peace, to inspire peace, or to do all activities around peace. It seeks partnerships with different organizations. When we looked at this, we said, for the next 13 to 15 months, beginning January this year, what can we do to inspire peace? And we divided that into 4 phases. And the first phase, which ran from January to about March, was about getting Kenyans to understand that they own this country. This is my Kenya. And so we came up with a slogan that says, Mwenye nchi sio mwananchi. Kenyans are so used to saying, Kenya ina wenyewe. You know, like they are not the owners. But here we're telling to say, you're the owner. You're the owner of this nation. You're the mwenye nchi. And so that was a message that we're trying to push during the first phase. Then phase 2 is about celebrating Kenya. And also talking about that elections is not a time to fight and just solve oppositions. is a time to elect leaders. And so what we did with phase 2 a lot was county forums. Again, we worked with the Ministry of Justice a lot. And when we were doing that, we had peace caravans that would go around the towns where we would have these county forums, talking about peace, distributing peace materials like brochures and everything else, so that Kenyans out there who may not have seen what was happening with phase 1 can start understanding that peace is important. And because this is a campaign season, even for the politicians, there are a lot of messages out there. And we needed Kenyans to start realizing, even as the politicians come to them, that they already are holding to something that they will require of their politicians. And around, also in phase 2, we did, when we were doing that this is about electing leaders, we know there were a lot of hotspots, including the slum areas. And so a lot of caravans, a lot of what we'd call town hall meetings have been held and continue to be held in these areas. Then phase 3 is really to say, well, this is my country, I am responsible for it. So it's about rights with responsibility. So haki yangu ni wajibu wangu. My rights are my responsibility. And so that, with that is to say, what do I want? Once we have peace, what next? And that's how Vision 2030 comes in, to say we have a vision to carry. We've seen that the implementation of that vision and how it's starting to change people's lives with better roads, with the rail, and we need to continue to do that. And we can't do that if we don't have a peaceful environment to operate in. Phase 4 runs within all the other three phases. It's starting to look at the conflict areas, and as conflicts comes up, who do we work with in Mkenya Daima in those regions? And that's where the civil society has been very keen. And we've worked a lot with organizations around Oxfam, and these are the Peace Nets and others, and to go in when there has been chaos in Mombasa or any other region, we've gone in through those organizations. So many times you'll never see always Mkenya Daima. But for us, because we're inspiring peace, is to talk to these partners and say, are you holding meetings with these local people? Are they understanding why it's important to have peace? What do you need from us? What materials do you need from us that we can assist you? And then as that has been happening, the religious leaders, many have had sermons around peace, talking about this country, how important it is as Christians, as Muslims, as Hindus to live together, and just around peace messages. And there are a lot of sermons going around that. We've done that already through the phases, especially a lot in phase 2, where we've looked for organized groupings. And the university students under KUSO, we've worked very closely with them, and we continue to work closely with them because the students are very also organized. And we have done things together like the singing of the national anthem every 4th of the month. A lot doesn't get to media, but the students have spearheaded this singing of the national anthem because they said, what is the one thing that unifies us together? And it's the national anthem, And then we've also worked with, we are working right now with the Rotary clubs of this country on what we are calling corporates for peace. And saying they are constituents of the private sector who are already organized in themselves. And we don't have to call them under the umbrella of KEPSA and they be part of every other activity we are doing. Because the idea with Mkenya Daima is that we do not own the activities. Our work is to inspire peace, look for people who are already organized and doing something, assist them where they can. Those ones who already have what they know what they want to do, give them materials or just inspire them to go on. Activities that are not being done, we bring them together and try and do them. And so that's what we've done. So we have corporates for peace with Rotary. We've also started engaging the golfers. And we know during the International Day of Peace, the Rotary Club of Railway did hold a golf tournament to mark that day. And that's what we are looking for. We're looking for many organized groups who can say, we are already organized as a group, we already have this constituency. We can assist you with the materials that you need to inspire peace. And then if you raise funds and you say these are the activities that Mkenya Daima are doing, would like to be part of them because we can't, with our constituency, we can't reach where these other activities can go. Then you say, we have raised this amount, would like this to be used in this kind of activity. Everything that we do is audited by PwC. We have a lot of people who've come to us and said we will offer different services. We've had Scanat and Hill & Newton who've helped us with the PR and media activities. PwC came and said we will offer pro bono audit services. So anything that comes to us goes into that activity and is audited by PwC. So you will not be afraid of how your money will be spent. But you're saying beyond that, what can you do? As we look forward, we're saying peace is not an end in itself. Once you have peace, then what? You have to give people hope. And hope is by something they can do beyond that. So everyone works so hard, and then we have peaceful elections. Then what? So after March 2030, then what? What we're saying to Kenyans is that there's already a vision for this country, Vision 2030. And it's not a government project, it's a blueprint for the country. It's for you and I. And Vision 2030 will only be accomplished if we are all part of it and playing our part. I was very encouraged listening to the Syokimau rail station at the issue that even though government was involved, the builders were the local Kenyans. So the hope we are giving Kenyans is that we want to inspire peace so that we can have peaceful elections and then prosperity for all. It's not for a few. And that's why you're not a mwananchi, you're a mwenye nchi. You know, this prosperity is not for that top business person or that politician. It can be for all of us if we become part of this to ensure that there's peaceful elections and we get involved in Vision 2030. What I would ask all Kenyans to do is that we do have many activities that are running under Mkenya Daima. But wherever you are, inspire peace with what you can do today. Within the family, within your organizations, with the people you interact with, inspire peace. And we're here to just encourage you that we need to inspire peaceful elections. Kenya tunayoipenda.